Walked right up to her. I said, I want him gone by the end of the week.
Oh my gosh.
No, Uncle Steve, no. Start instantly crying, whatever. I said, I want him gone. I said, there's nothing to talk about. I don't want to see his ass here again. This is a true story. So my little niece calls me up, and she's like, Uncle Steven, want you to see him, blah, 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 blah. And I drive and I see this brother. He's a senior in high school. Brother about 6'4", athlete, basketball player. So I tell her to go inside. Let me sit out there, play basketball, let him talk with him the whole bit. And he starts talking about, his aspirations and all this other stuff. And so I said, so when you going to college? Ain't going to college. So what you planning on doing? He's like, Mr. Smith, I want to be a garbage man. I went like this. What? I said, garbage man. Now, let me be very, very clear. It's an honest living. I'm not judging anybody for that. But that's for grown men who tried other things and the alternative was to make sure you landed in that position. It ain't for you to be aspiring for it as a high school student. I said to him, okay, all right, nice to meet you, bro. So I walk into the house. I'm like, oh, hell no. Get rid of him. I want him gone by the end of the week.
Was he?
And yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was very upset. But she listened to Uncle. Why does that matter? Because I got 2 daughters. I was that way with my niece. How do you think I'm going to be with you?
I'm going to pray for them.
You
Your
should.
daughters.
You should.
What's happening? Y'all gotta stop this stupid stuff. So I did a video before about Stephen A. and Say Still. I think it's probably the same show. And he talked about how she talked about how he was a soft dad because his daughter got his credit card and they taking trips to Cuba and stuff at 17 years old. And then I see this, and niece is dating a guy who's 18 and he wants to be a garbage man. He like, get rid of him. And I'm like, hold up. Who was that made the I wouldn't date the bus driver thing? And I'm like, you just told her to get rid of her boyfriend because he's a teenager. And he said he wanted to be a garbage man. It could have been a story behind that, right? But did him not going to college? I could see, man, you're not going to college. I don't know. But here's where it gets funny to me. Nobody thought that a journalist would make as much money as he's made in his life now. So this is where it gets interesting. Because when he was a young man and he was a journalist, and he's like, yeah, what I want to be I want to be a sports writer. People probably, they could have been the same to get rid of him. Because that was not an occupation people thought about that made enough money to provide for a family. And now you can make some good money in journalism. I got one of my older cousins was actually the president of the NABJ, which is the National Association for Black Journalists. It was years ago, but he's still a journalist to this day. Might know Stephen, as a matter of fact, but but this kid wasn't a bad kid, is what I'm getting at. He's a teenage man who wanted to get a job. Nothing's really wrong with it. But hey, he's not good enough for my niece, so nobody's good enough for your daughter. And it's like, let me say something. If you keep this up, you're right. Nobody will be good enough. And that's a normal daddy thing, nobody's good enough for my baby type of situation. But you gonna wind up paying for them kids when they 50 years old. Because of this concept, because I'm this, I need somebody who I can respect because that's beneath me. So it's got to be beneath you. And then I think about it, I'm like, man, here's the irony. your kids like the daughter does the imitation of is hilarious, but the nephew, they always say we rich. Hopefully he's doing something for real, but the way he portrayed himself and the way Stephen A's got is like, bro, this 18-year-old got more work ethic than your nephew. The way, and your nephew's like in his 30s, the way your nephew portrays himself, rather. So it's like, okay, so you taking care of the niece and you taking care of the nephew, but the young dude, the 18-year-old that wants to be a hardworking guy and get a job, not good enough. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing? And if you didn't like what he did, I mean, you could have just said, hey man, I've been around the world a lot, and you got other options. You could do other things, man. I've seen people do this, but your immediate get rid of them. And here's the rub. Um, some of you people that get into the upper class, when it comes to your own people, you got to divest the spirit. Like if the 6'4", 18-year-old was a white dude, you might actually like, hey man, I'm pointing you in this direction. Black dude, get rid of him. It's that. And that's a thing. Nobody said you got to be a lifelong mentor, but it's like, yeah, but the same way that people talk about like, and they've said this about Michael Jordan, but in a general sense, they've said this about professional athletes in a general sense, black professional athletes, that a lot of black kids have seen black athletes sign all kinds of things for non-black people, but when black people show up, can I get out? I gotta go. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? And I say that because it's kind of, he's a sports journalist, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like that young man might be listening to this now and be like, yeah, I remember meeting him. He was talking. Yeah, he didn't talk to me. He wasn't that disrespectful when I said it. So if so then it becomes you tripping. You I thought the boy was gonna be. I thought he was in the streets or something. You know what I'm saying? I thought something was going on with him outside of, something negative, and that's the worst. That's the worst thing in the world. I'm like, nah, you tripping on this one. And the reason I say he's tripping because 9 times out of 10, that 18-year-old is not going to be he's going to be a garbage man, and then the other garbage man going to put him on game like, man, you could do this, you could do this, and he's probably going to do something else with his life. Or he might get fast tracked to management or go into a completely different industry. That's how that normally works with young cats. Or they put them on game on how to invest their money and whatnot. Because like, young fella, if you're doing this, you might as well do this, and this. That's how that normally goes. But you know what I mean? It's despicable. And at the same time, in the same era, in the same time period where people get on social media, ladies have got on social media for a good minute talking about how much money a man has to make just to take care of them. It's like, bro, you basically said that he lacked vision at the time, but he's 18. I'm sorry, some 18-year-olds don't go, I want to be a thoracic surgeon. That's not how it goes for everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's not how it goes. But he's not good enough for my niece, and how good is going to be for my daughters? Okay. And then you ain't gonna want your daughters to date no quote unquote athletes. You're not gonna do this to my baby. And it's like, y'all tripping, man. Y'all tripping. But that's I recently talked about classism. That's what that is. That's what that is. And let me. I'm gonna pause this because I'm gonna look up the salary, the average salary of a journalist you know, in sports journalism. Hold up. Yeah, I'm back. Yes, $53 to $56,000. That's the national average. You get what I'm saying? Beat reporters make between 50 to 150 of the NBA. But in a general sense, that's what it is. If you're on ESPN, you making more money, of course. But in a general sense, that's blue collar, pay scale. So it's like, bro, and people have thought about him with some of his political views and some views on the black community. You got arrogant. You got arrogant and a little bit out of touch. Because what if you ran across that let me say it this way. If you were back in wherever y'all at and you ran into this young man's parents somewhere after they saw this clip, because if the kid's 6'4", dad's probably a big, if dad smacked you through a wall, you had it coming. Just on the, what you say, man? What this boy say? Like the world don't know who his son is. He know who he is, and then his parents go, "Oh, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, just don't ever let us cross paths again, because I might throw you in the garbage truck." You get what I'm saying? And that's kind of social media fault too, man, because we say some stuff that's just off the cuff. It's a good story. It's entertaining. Sometimes it's rage baiting, but it's disrespectful as hell. But I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Tell me what y'all think. Catch you on the next one. Peace.